Better Life Media, America's leading source for life improvement, presents Tom Hopkins, Mastering the Art of Selling.
Thank you. Well, most of you are business people, so let me start off by asking you a business question. I'd love you to yell out whatever comes to your mind. How's business? There you go. That was a test question. I'd love to teach you a great word as I start with you. Because, see, in business, there are days when things don't go the way you'd planned, right or wrong. How many of you had one of those days that everything went wrong? And then one of your friends says, well, how are you doing? And you can't say, I had the worst day of my life. So I'd love to teach you this great word. When anyone asks you how business is, get excited, and I'd love you to say, unbelievable, because that covers it either way, doesn't it? So let's start again. How's business? How are some of your clients? How's your in-laws? See, it really covers it either way, doesn't it? Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Whenever I get the chance to present my favorite subject, which is mastering the art of selling, I get real excited. And as was mentioned, I really believe that all of us, in a way, are in sales. We're selling people to do what we like them to do if they work for us. We're doing our best to convince people that we work with to let us be promoted. So we're all, in a way, in selling. I think a great parent is using what I'll teach you today to motivate their children to make decisions. I think a marriage is not an easy thing to keep if you don't learn some selling skills. So I think you'll be able to apply this to anything in your life, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is mastering the art of selling. Now, I have a passion, and my passion is collecting fine art. And if you look back over the years to the masters of art, the Rembrandts, the Chagalls, the Moreaus, if you study them, you'll realize that they, of course, had a tremendous talent for art, and they used oil on canvas. Well, in the profession of selling or motivating people to make buying decisions, the medium we use is not a canvas and not oil, but what we use are strategies, techniques, questioning skills, and when you paint the picture properly, the positive emotions of the buyer to say yes to your offering are created. And that's the same when I, for example, was early in sales. I didn't understand the basic truth that no one says yes logically. They say yes emotionally, then they defend that decision logically. So if you are in the business of moving people to yes decisions, it is done primarily emotionally. Now, I didn't know this when I was brand new. Now, I want to ask you a question. How many of you ever had too much month at the end of your money? Can I just see your hands? Well, if you said yes to that, that's kind of the way I started. I was 19, unheard of, to go into the profession of selling, primarily choosing real estate at that point, which was a very high-end item for a 19-year-old. And I didn't do well when I started. Now, granted, today I'm blessed to hold a record for the most number of home sales that have ever been made, but that wasn't true in the beginning. I only made one sale in the first 6 months. And that's not really true. I did not make the sale. I was the only one in the office. A couple came in and the husband said, we saw a home with your sign on it and we want to buy it. And luckily he knew how to fill out my forms. People say to me, what happened, Tom, to change you from a 19-year-old kid that didn't know what he was doing? I did what you folks are doing today. I did what you watching this program are doing. I invested in my education. I spent the last $150 I had to go to a seminar And the man teaching it, I can honestly say, all these years later, had a life-changing effect on my life. And that can happen to you when you go to a program with your mind open and you listen carefully, intently. You do your very best to take the pearls, those certain things that are said that can change your life if you apply them. And that is the real key. The application of what is being covered in these programs. Taking it, applying it, and having the changes take place. So I decided in putting this program together that I wanted to share with you some things about selling that most people don't talk about. See, because most people think the word selling and they go, well, they got to be great talkers. There's three things I think you have to have first. And I'll ask all of you here, how many of you believe in your product? Let me see your hands. How many of you believe that you yourself would buy it? Oh boy, you better. How many of you are enthusiastic about the profession of selling? Great. Now I want to start off by saying you got to believe in what you do. I've had people on talk shows say, Tom, I'm thinking of going into sales. Where can I make the most money? And I go, that's not how you look at finding a profession called selling. You need to find something you love. In fact, it has to even go more than a love. I think you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to be passionate, where you're so excited to help people get involved in your product, where you just love what you do. Now that they can't say no to, and never ever forget this. People will say yes more to your belief, your conviction, than they will your technical skills. So the first key is you got to buy what you sell if you're going to have true integrity. I've had people say to me, Tom, I've read your books, I've heard your tapes, I bet you could sell anything. And I say, no, I couldn't. I could not sell something I did not totally believe was good for the consumer after they owned it. And that's the key to professionalism. You have to say, looking across that table, looking across that desk, I know these people are qualified, I know they will be happy, I know they will enjoy this wonderful opportunity I'm offering them. Your belief is absolutely critical. Most people that gravitate into the field of sales are good talkers. Oh, they can talk. Boy, can they talk. But I totally believe you have to start with three things first. The first thing you have to have before you start telling people what they should buy is you got to find the product that you so believe in that you're excited about. The second thing you need to do, number two, you need to find qualified people to sell, and then, of course, professionally sell those people you find. Those are the two steps. You got to find them people that are qualified, then have the skill to professionally lead them to the decision of saying yes. The third thing you need is you have to help people make decisions that are good for them. Now, you'll hear that again later on, because I want you not to miss the words good for them. That's where your strength comes from. I think you've got to look at a person and say, you're going to thank me in the years ahead because what I'm doing for you is good for you. And that's where your strength comes from. So let's start on some of these questions. First of all, there's a basic truth that we all have to live by in the field of sales. And don't miss this now. If I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, it's true. So the key is to take any statement of fact and see how you can turn it into a question. Now, I teach basically 40 questions. I'm going to give you the ones that I feel you can take right today, start applying in all areas of your life. Now, the first question is actually titled a tie down. A tie down. Now, the tie down is defined as a question at the end of a sentence that demands a yes response. In other words, it's a way of getting yeses, isn't it? That was one, wasn't it? I did it again, didn't I? You're catching on, aren't you? They're kind of fun, aren't they? You can make this a speech habit with practice, can't you? Because you do want to get more yeses, don't you? Now, I'd like all of you to now join me. I'm going to say a statement. I'd like you to add the tie down that's applicable and give me a nice nod. Ready? Investing in a quality product makes sense, doesn't it? Gosh, they've got to say yes to that. They won't say, oh no, we're looking for something that just breaks all the time. Haven't you got a real rotten product to talk to me about? No, they'll say yes to that. So that's the tie down. Now have fun with that. Don't overuse it though. See, some people go, boy, I love that, isn't it, doesn't it, wasn't it, couldn't it, wouldn't it, shouldn't it, can't you, won't you, don't you, I love that thing. But then they overuse it, and now you're getting pushy. Here's a general rule for you in sales. For every hour presentation, use no more than 2 tie downs in the presentation. That would be your maximum, or you're moving from giving them a good opportunity to say yes to getting pushy and controlling, and people don't want that today. All right? Our next question technique is one of my very favorites, and it's actually called the alternate of choice. Now, the alternate of choice, the definition is this. It's a question with 2 answers. Either answer they choose is a minor agreement leading towards the major decision. So you're always trying to give them 2 questions. 2 questions, you say. And of course, the key to this thing is they must know the answers. This is very important. And the answers must confirm the fact they're going ahead. Now, let me give you the best uses of it. It can be time you meet someone. See, if you say to many people in business, when can we get together? Now, you that are in sales, you're the last person they may want to meet. And they'll stall you. Oh, call me next week, call me next month. That's why you want to smile and just say this nice question to them. Just look at them and use their name. John, I'm available to meet with you today at 3, or would tomorrow at 9 be better? Now they can't say yes or no. Take a 3, take a 9. Either way, I'm going to meet with you. You can use them on location. Would you like to come to my facility, or should I visit you at your home? They can't say yes or no. Take a choice, home or office. They're wonderful. Have fun with these 2. I'd love you to just say, I'm going to take these and teach them to my kids. My 3 children knew all the questions before they were 10 years of age. And they are different today. I can remember my little 8-year-old daughter, Tasha. Now, most 8-year-olds, when they go to the market with Dad, they would say, Dad, can I have an ice cream? Not Tasha. She'd say, Dad, which would you prefer I have today? A fudgesicle or a popsicle? Either way, she gets her ice cream, right? So you can really have fun with this. You can use it with your spouse. You know, if you want to go out to dinner, you know what you have in the house. You just smile and say, what would you like tonight, hon? Chinese or Italian food? He says, gee, I love Chinese. Well, you know, we don't have any. Grab your coat. Let's go find some. And you moved him to a decision to do what you wanted to do with the alternative choice question. Very, very fun. Now, your third question is called the porcupine. Now, it's a funny name. And I know when I say it, you're going, porcupine? I'll tell you why I named it this. I was taught the strategy many years ago, and it's basically answer the right question with a question and then write that answer on your form agreement paperwork. The challenge I had is I was nervous like most people in our business, and I would forget to do it. I mean, all of a sudden they'd say, how soon can we move into the home? And I'd go, well, there's 30-day possession, there's 60-day possession. So what I learned to do was answer it with a question. How soon can we take possession? John, what time schedule would best suit you? Now, when they answer that, I've, in essence, closed the transaction. And I called it the porcupine because I started saying, I won't forget it if I visualize they threw a live porcupine in my lap. Now, what would you do if I did? I threw a live porcupine right at, what would you do with it? You'd throw it back. That's what we do with the right questions. Let me throw some at you. Ready? Do you have one in blue? Would you like one in blue? Isn't that simple? Do you have a smaller size? Would you like a smaller size? And when they say yes, they bought. So simple. Gosh, I used to love it. I'd be showing a home. I knew they'd love it. And all of a sudden, the wife would go, now, Tom, will they leave that swing set in the back? I didn't say yes or no. I said, do you think the kids would enjoy it? Well, when she said yes, she just bought a swing set, what stays with it? The house. Of course. So it's a real fun technique. And again, you in sales, I see so many lost sales because people ask a question they would only ask because they want the product, and the people don't answer it with a question. They've lost that sale. So get sensitive to the porcupine, all right? Now, people ask me, Tom, why don't people purchase my product when they should? Well, there's 10 reasons that you should know, because there are 10 basic fears that the average human being has to invest money for benefits of a product. Now, you want to know these fears because you really want to work on them so that your presentation makes sure that you eliminate these 10 fears. Now, the very first fear I'm addressing to you that are in sales, and everybody knows it. They know what you do for a living. The first fear is they are afraid of you. Why? They're afraid to be sold. See, we are great consumers. We love to own things, but people today are afraid of being sold. So the key is to not come across like a salesperson, but try to come across more like an expert advisor. You see, when you come across like an expert advisor, they stop looking at you as someone trying to sell them. And that's, of course, when everything works. The feelings are right. They don't know exactly what they should do, but they feel good about you. See, if you were to boil down the whole key to this business to one sentence, let's just say hypothetically, you were in the elevator at the hotel, and I was in the elevator, and you says, Tom, I'm studying your training, I've read your books, blah, 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 blah. We got 10 floors till we get to the top. What is the real secret? And I would say I can boil everything I teach down to one basic truth. If you make something happen with people, you're going to do well in this business. What is it? You have the ability to have them like you, trust you, and want to listen to you. You see, if people like you, then they trust you, and they want to listen to you, not have to. They now open up and say, I need more information. That is when you really are going to do well in this business. Now, the second fear that people have, they're afraid of making a mistake. And you know, all of us are. Many people have purchased something they wish they'd never purchased. They were told something and it didn't work, the warranty wasn't good, and so they have this fear that, hey, I'm not making a mistake. That's why in any presentation, you must watch as we watch the presentation to make sure that any of those fears about making a mistake are covered in the presentation. Now, your third fear, they're afraid of being lied to. See, many times they've been told a lie in the past. Anyone over 30 years of age has purchased something where it didn't do what they said it was going to do, and they felt they were lied to. That is why it's so important that you are extremely honest and truthful. See, I believe that you can have a great presentation, you can tell anybody anything based on what you're saying if you come from a foundation of truth. And that's really, really important to have a long-term integrity and ethics with your clients. Now, the fourth reason people are afraid to buy is they're afraid of incurring debt. All of us are. So many people have too much debt today, and they look at your product, they may have to increase the monthly investment. And right away they're going, I don't think I can afford it. I'm afraid of that. So again, it's so imperative that in your presentation that you make sure they realize the value that they get. Because see, that's what the exchange is in selling anything. It starts with perceived value as to the benefits they're going to get. Then it goes from perceived value to real feelings of value. And that's why one of the great keys to selling anything is learning how to pour on value. Because if there's enough value, it diminishes the investment they're going to make. Fifth reason, this one takes a little explaining. How many of you that are in sales market your product primarily to two people, a husband and wife at the same time? Let me see your hands. Okay, quite a few of you. You've got to be careful here, because this next reason has to do with one of the couple at the table. Meaning, let's say that you're a real good friend of the husband, and he's made some mistakes. You're close enough to tell him, let's say you're in financial services, and looking at what they've done with their investment portfolio, they've made tremendous mistakes. Well, now here's the situation. All of a sudden, you are real blunt with John. John, what were you thinking? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Well, all of a sudden, John feels his ego is threatened, and the next fear takes place. And that's the fear of losing face. To where he loses face in front of his wife because you talk down to him. That's why it's very important. Here's another concept. Make everybody at the table feel important. Never talk down to anybody. Never belittle anyone. It's amazing if you make everybody feel important, which again is uplifting them, how they'll want to do business with you not only once, but for a lifetime. And that's when you really have done your job, when they want to be a lifetime client. My last year in sales, 96% of the people I met and got involved in our opportunities were referred to me by other happy people. And that only happens when you do a great job for them. When they know, wow, this person cares more about me than making a sale. And that's something you want to work on, that feeling. Now, there's a word for that. You've heard it during the program, and it's called the word empathy. See, empathy to me is the most important thing people have to feel you have for them. You have empathy for them. Empathy is putting yourself in their shoes. In fact, I have a poem. I love poetry. It's another thing I write. I love it. I have a poem that I think will really illustrate to you what this empathy thing's all about. Let me share it with you. When you walk down the road of life and come to that bridge, knowing how many of you right now are just a little worried about me forgetting my poem? Anybody? How many of you had this feeling like, whoa, come on, Tom, don't forget the poem? See, if you had that feeling, that's empathy, where you put yourself up here with me, with all that's going on here, and me forgetting the poem. You that felt that, I salute you. You've got empathy. For the others of you that said, oh, finally he blew it, that's great, I'm worried about you.